1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Standout 7.
Hello there, it's Mike in for Jamie, and in the next 7 minutes or so we'll look back on a week where rail strikes disrupted travel for millions, Boris saw a double by-election blow, the US Congress continued its hearings into Donald Trump's attempted coup, and Kate Bush emerged from hiding to chat stranger things. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7, and don't forget to hit the follow button to get your daily updates at 7 a.m. There was bad news for Boris Johnson in the early hours of Friday morning. The Tories lost not one but 2 by-elections as Labour recaptured Wakefield and the Lib Dems produced an extraordinary swing in Devon to take the Tiverton and Honiton seat. The dual loss was enough for Conservative Party Chairman Oliver Dowden to submit his resignation. In Devon, Richard Ford, who won the seat for the Lib Dems, says there's no doubt in his mind the Prime Minister was on the voters' minds.
Boris Johnson was a theme that came up on every doorstep almost, and I think there's a real feeling now that he has overstayed his welcome as our Prime Minister.
Labour's Simon Lightwood used his acceptance speech to warn there is a message being sent to voters.
Tonight, the people of Wakefield have spoken on behalf of the British people. They have said unreservedly, Boris Johnson, your contempt for this country is no longer tolerated.
Boris appeared from Rwanda. No, he hasn't been deported. He's at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting with Prince Charles. He says the results are really more to do with the economy than anything to do with him.
Yes, it's absolutely true that we've had some tough by-election results, and they've been, I think, a reflection of a lot of things, but we've got to recognise that voters are going through a tough time at the moment, and I think that as a government, I've got to listen to what people are saying, in particular to the difficulties people are facing over the cost of living, which is, I think, for most people the number one issue.
It's been a week of chaos on the railways with 3 days of strikes plus a tube strike on Tuesday for good measure. The government has refused to get involved directly in negotiations, with Transport Secretary Grant Shapps dismissing calls for him to take a seat at the table on Tuesday.
It's a stunt, and they're doing it for effect. They've walked out of the talks yesterday afternoon whilst they were still ongoing and went and called a press conference and said it was over. It's quite clearly the RMT and Labour who've got nothing to say on this. They won't even condemn the strike.
Union boss Mick Lynch became a viral sensation as he systematically worked his way through all of the major news networks, taking no nonsense from anyone and laying out the root cause of the issue from the workers' point of view.
The fares go up by RPI every year, the retail price index. That's the government regulations. Last year, profits were made by the train operators. £500 million out of that subsidy you gave went to those companies. First Group and Go Ahead, who we're negotiating with, are both subject to takeovers from private equity companies. They're going to be worth billions.
He also had to field questions about a potential future political career.
My job is to represent my members and get them a deal in this dispute, and I'm focused on that. And I'm aware that the press in this country, controlled by very rich people, will be looking to tarnish my reputation and other people involved in this dispute.
The European Union kicked off a 2-day leaders' summit in Brussels on Thursday with the formal acceptance of Ukraine and Moldova as future candidates for EU membership. Ukraine's President Zelensky expressed his gratitude and said that Ukraine's future is within the EU. The summit continued on Friday looking at additional aid for Ukraine and the ongoing issue of Russia's blockade of Ukrainian ports, which may lead to a world food shortage. And full membership could be years away, as the president of Albania, Edi Rama, was keen to point out.
North Macedonia is candidate since 17 years, if I have not lost the count. Albania since 8. I hope the Ukrainian people will not make many illusions about it.
The US Congressional hearings on the events of January 6th took place on Tuesday and Thursday of this week. Tuesday saw the investigation focus on Arizona and Georgia and the pressure Donald Trump applied to elected officials as he tried to overturn the legitimate election results. The Speaker of the Arizona House, Rusty Bowers, a lifelong Republican, had calls and visits from Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, who made exaggerated claims of election fraud and promised but never delivered any evidence.
He said, "We've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence." And I don't know if that was a gaffe or maybe he didn't think through what he said.
And the hearing also heard from Shay Moss, an election worker who got caught up in Donald Trump's claims and found herself and her mum persecuted after Rudy Giuliani accused them of passing around votes on a USB stick. She received racist abuse and death threats.
Mr. Giuliani accused you and your mother of passing some sort of USB drive to each other. What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
Thursday saw the committee focus on the US Justice Department and the pressure Donald Trump applied in the wake of the November election. The then acting Attorney General, Jeffrey Rosen, and acting Deputy Richard Donoghue described having to continually convince the president that election conspiracy theories were nonsense, including a rumour about Italian satellites.
Select Committee confirmed that a call was actually placed by Secretary Miller to the attaché in Italy to investigate the claim that Italian satellites were switching votes from Trump to Biden. As he told Mr. Donoghue in that December 27th call, quote, "You guys may not be following the internet the way I do."
The two men were almost replaced by an environmental lawyer, Jeff Clark, who proved more willing to do Trump's bidding.
Toward the end of the meeting, the president again was getting very agitated, and he said, "People tell me I should just get rid of both of you."
Still to come on the Standout 7, Kate Bush on Stranger Things, and Emma Thompson isn't worried about getting her kit off.
Right after this. Welcome back.
More information has been emerging about the Uvalde school shooting in Texas, with indications officers had more than enough firepower and protection to take down the gunman long before they finally did. The shooting saw 19 children and 2 adults killed, and it's been revealed that local police waited over an hour before confronting the attacker, with fingers now pointing at law enforcement for failing to stop the attack. Stephen McCraw is the executive director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. He testified to the Texas Senate on Tuesday.
3 minutes after the subject entered the West Building, there was sufficient number of armed officers wearing body armor to isolate, distract, and neutralize the subject. 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 8 seconds. That's how long the children waited and the teachers waited in rooms 111 to be rescued.
It's been quite a month for Kate Bush. The singer-songwriter and performer hasn't really been in the spotlight for several decades, but Stranger Things Season 4 changed all of that. Their use of her hit Running Up That Hill has catapulted her into the record books as it's hit the number 1 position across the world. It's 44 years since her last number 1, and she's also the oldest female artist to have a number 1. She emerged into the spotlight on Women's Hour to chat about the show and how much she likes it, even before it gave her a smash hit.
Actually, we watched it right from the word go with the first series onwards, so I was already familiar with the series. And I thought what a lovely way for the song to be used in such a positive way, you know, as a kind of talisman almost, really, for Max. And yeah, I think it's very touching, actually.
Emma Thompson is a busy woman these days. The first trailer for the new Matilda musical, which sees her in alarming prosthetics as Miss Trunchbull, just dropped, and she's out and about promoting her new movie, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. This one doesn't involve prosthetics, but there's quite a bit of nudity as she plays a recently widowed woman who decides to enjoy herself with a sex worker played by former Peaky Blinder Daryl McCormack. She says she's not bothered about nudity on set, telling Seth Meyers she once spent 3 days naked with Jeff Goldblum.
When you are stripped on set, it makes everybody very, very careful. But it's also very funny because if like props come up to you with something, they'll come up to you and they'll come up to your face and go, "Hey, here you go, Seth, here's your props." And then they'll walk away, but not looking down, just in case, you know, you think that they're looking.
This has been the Standout 7, the best of the week from the Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 a.m. with the Sunday 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.